I made $1 million just from sports betting, and in this video I'm going to explain to you guys step by step and show you a visual of how I was able to do that and how you can implement this same exact strategy to any bankroll that you have. So let's jump over to the whiteboard and I'm going to discuss exactly how you could do this and really accelerate your bankroll really fast. Now, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, I have said, that it's very hard to do this. And it took me some time to do this, okay? It took 17 months to be able to do this at this level. And I'm going to show you guys how I was able to do it. And like I said, how you could implement it as well. So it's not 100% impossible, but it's 100% not sustainable to be able to make $1 million consecutively from the sports books. And I'm going to show you guys the reasons why when we really get down to it. So let's talk about first, what was the goal that I set out? Because you got to start out with a goal and you got to start out with a bankroll. All right, so the goal that I set out with was a mediocre goal that everybody could achieve. Okay, my goal was to get 5 units per month. Okay, I just wanted to make 5 units per month. So it wasn't crazy. I didn't want to make 20, 30 units a month. I just wanted to make 5 units per month. And what did I start out with? My bankroll that I started out with was $100,000. Okay, $100,000 bankroll. What I started out with, my goal was 5 units per month. Now let's go ahead and talk about how I was able to break this down into months. So for month 1 and throughout this whole process, I thought this is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to do 3% of what my bankroll is to be my unit size. All right. I'm going to do 3%. Like I said, I want to get 5 units per month as a goal. So let's start with month 1. Month 1 started out with $100,000. So 3% of that, I was doing $3,000 unit size. So with a $3,000 unit size, this is where I'm saying it becomes complicated right off the bat. Right off the bat, I knew this was going to be complicated. So I live in Vegas, but Arizona is only 25 minutes from me, the state line. So I have access to all those sports books and sports books in Vegas. So I have accounts with over 15 sports books. Okay, so this is what we had to do. We had to start out with 8 sports books, and I had to split this up. I split this up between 8 sports books. Okay, so my unit size was split up between 8 sports books. Now, the reason why is because I'm going to get banned if I'm trying to bet 3% of $100,000 at one sports book consistently. Okay, I'm going to get banned. So you just can't do that. So month 1, like I said, we're doing $3,000 unit sizes. Now 5 units. Now overall, like what I'm writing up here is going to be making that 5 units per month. But some months where I made like 2 units and then I gained that in the next month, like I'd made 8 in the next month. So kind of everything averaged out to around 5 units per month. Okay, I'm not saying I consecutively hit 5 units every single month, but to make it easier for you guys to understand and see, I'm putting the averages out to exactly 5 units per month of what I averaged out. Now plays, I stuck to just 20 to 30 plays a month. Okay, I only took plays where I was not, nothing is sure, nothing's guaranteed, but that had the highest probability ones, like super high. Okay, that is the only ones that I stuck with. I didn't do anything else, just stuck with those. So once again, I had 8 sports books, and the thing is, I had to focus on the overs on these. So a lot of these, or mostly every single one was a player prop, but I had to focus on the overs. The reason why is because the overs are available at multiple sports books. The unders are only available at like 3 or 4 sports books. So I can't bet that certain unit size on the unders because I would get banned or I'll get limited at those sports books. So I had to focus on player props and the overs specifically. Super high probability. And like I said, I only played 20 to 30 plays per month. So month 1, started out with 100,000. We hit that 5 unit mark. So I made about 15 grand. Okay, so my new bankroll for going into month 2 was 115,000. All right, I did the same thing. Okay, same thing, but what I did differently is compounding. Okay, I used compound interest. So I'm gonna write that up here. Compound interest. Very important. Okay, I compounded my unit size into my bankroll, essentially rolling it into the next month. So now at 115, now I was doing 3%. 3% at that. Okay, 3% at that. Put my bankroll at 34.50. Put my unit size, excuse me. Unit size at 34.50. So again, using the 8 sports books, I had to split that up, which made my unit size $431 at this point. So $431 I had to split up between 8 sports books to be able to get one single bet down because of how much. Now, like I've told you guys before, it's very hard to be able to do this because most people aren't going to go through all of this process. All right, they're not going to go through all this process because, you know, they just are lazy. Straight up, they're just lazy. They don't want to go through that process. But you have to understand that you have to, in order to not get banned and not get limited, your unit size needs to stick around, like, to be honest with you, 500 was the threshold that I thought. I was able to get away with a little bit more here and not get banned, but we'll get to that as I start rolling through here. All right, let's get to month 3. So month 3, now again 5 units, but now 5 units at that unit size. I ended up with 132,250. All right, that is what I ended up. So look at just in 3 months. In 3 months, I already made 30 grand. Okay, so you can see how the compound interest starts to take effect, but you'll see later on how that really starts to take effect. Now, again, 3%. I'm sticking at that 3% here of this bankroll. Now that brings me to 3967. All right. Now I wrote these all down because obviously I can't just go off the top of my dome and remember all these numbers. All right, but sports books now. Now what I had to do here, because I was getting scared that now my unit size was going to be above 500, I added another sports book. Okay, so now I was at 9 sports books. All right, and then I split my unit size up, and that unit size now was $440. So a little bit better, okay? Then let's get to month 4. Month 4, now I'm at $152,085. Now again, this is not at one sports book. This amount of money is not at one sports book. This is split up amongst a bunch of sports books. All right, a bunch. Because like I said, you don't want all your eggs in one basket. Not only that is you're going to get banned. If you're trying to bet any type of unit size like that consecutively, you're going to last probably a week or two, and then you're done. Like, that's not going to happen. So now we're at 152,000. My unit size now is 4,562. Again, we're staying at 9 sports books. And now the unit size got a little bit hairy here for me because I was like, all right. I was like, now I'm above 500. Now I'm treading the line of where maybe a red flag could start get to go here, you know. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, he's betting above $500 and consecutively winning. So I stretched it along this month and kept at that 506 bet per bet. But overall, like I said, my unit size is this. So I had to equal that to get to that one unit size across all. Now, odds, obviously, the odds were not all the same at every single 9 or 8 sports books. I just had to get the average. Okay, I had to get the average. There's nothing you can really do about it. You just have to get the average of them. All right? But, again, I was getting a little sweaty here because I was like, I don't want to get banned. I don't want to get limited. So we go into month 5 now. Now, month 5 brings me to $174,895. Now, my unit size is really starting to get big here. So it's $5,246. Okay? So at this point, I was like, all right, I got to add another sports book now because my unit size is going to be way over $500. So now I went to 10 sports books. So as you can see, my progression of as the unit size gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the sports books get bigger and bigger and bigger. I need more sports books, right? So 10 sports books now. Splitting that up, I was able to get a unit size of, still was over $500. So I was at 524. This is where I thought I was going to be in trouble. All right, I thought like, all right, we're probably going to end up getting banned or I'm going to get limited. That's what's going to happen. But luckily, it did not happen, okay? I stretched it. Like I said, I was able to stretch these numbers a little bit further too and still not get banned. So I was able to stretch it somewhat. So now through month 5, I started out with $100,000. All right, got all the way up to 174 grand. So in 5 months, made $74,000. Now, of course, this is hefty betting. Okay, but like I said, you guys can adapt this same strategy that I used. You can adapt with any bankroll. You just have to understand the amount of time that it takes and the compound interest that takes effect and the amount of money that you're using, the sports books that are going to have to correlate with that. All right, let's go through month 6 now. Like I said, I'm going to take you guys through the whole entire journey and then explain to you guys the 5 key things of what I learned throughout this whole entire journey. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get to month 6 now. Month 6, I'm at 200,000. I broke the 200,000 mark. All right, 200,000. 201,125 is what I was at, and then unit size was 6,033. Now, sports books. Again, I was on that verge of. I was like, I don't want to get banned. All right, I don't want to get limited. So what did I do? I ended up adding another sports book. So I have access to like 15. Okay, and then I'm gonna tell you what I did after I maxed out those as well, which is not suggested, but it's almost like you have to do it if you're trying to do something at this level. Okay, but I went to 11 sports books now. Okay, my unit size now was $548. Now let's go on to month 7. Let's try to expedite this a little bit, because I know you guys are sitting around. Don't want to be sitting around all day, right? So 231,000 in month 7 brought me to $231,290. Now let's talk about the unit size again. Unit size 6,000. Now the compound interest is really taking effect here now, as you can see. Like, look, this is a $30,000 gap in 1 month now that I'm gaining. So it's huge now. The gap is getting pretty big. So now we're at a unit size of $6,938. All right. Again, this unit size is going to starting to get big. So now I got to start adding more sports books. So what I did was, now I just went to above 12 and went 13. I went 13 sports books. Okay. 13 sports books. Split it up. That brought me to 533 across the board. Like I said, I was treading water this whole time with a red flag, because to me, what I've seen from experience was $500 above is what brings that red flag. I was right on that line most of this time. Okay, and then let's just expedite a little bit, because this took, like I said, it took me a little bit of time. So let's go to month 11. All right, month 11. What did that bring me? That got me to $404,523. All right, so month 11. Look at the compound interest. So in month 8, 9, 10, 3 months, able to make over $150,000 strictly from sports betting. All right, this is strictly from sports betting. So $404,523. Now my new unit size was $12,135. All right, now it's getting crazy, right? Like, that's a crazy unit size. You're betting over 10,000 a game. Now, what I had to do here was I maxed out all the sports books that I had. So I had 15 sports books. Okay, so I had to add 15 sports books. But now, what I had to do on top of this was start using other accounts. Okay, so I had to use my wife's accounts as well. I had to make her all the same exact accounts that I had and just pretty much double everything that I'm doing. Okay, because now even with 15 sports books, that was bringing my unit size to $809, where I knew I couldn't keep that. There's no way I'm sustaining that. Okay, I'm gonna get banned. I'm gonna get limited. So I had to literally have all my sports books really maxed out on what I'm betting, and then add another account with all those sports books as well. Okay, so I pretty much added 15 more on top of it with another account. Okay, so now it's pretty much like I'm splitting this up between 30 sports books. But now think about how much work that does take. Okay, that takes a crazy amount of work just to get one bet down. It's only one bet that I have to do this with. So I literally had to go and split that all the way up between 30 sports books, spend all that time splitting it up between all 30 sports books just to get one bet down. Now imagine the days when I ended up losing. Like, that felt like a waste of time, complete waste of time. But like I said, you have to stay consistent with it. You got to keep going. Most people just want to give up when they lose a couple or whatnot. That's where you become a loser and you quit and you give up and you never get anywhere in life. Okay? You have to just keep going no matter what. You have to keep going. Now, let's accelerate this because it took me beyond a year. It took me beyond a year to do this. Now, let's go to we're going to go to month 14. Month 14. Like I said, this was a long process in the making, so it took a while to be able to come up with all this. All right, so month 14 now we're at $615,218 as my bankroll. My unit size now is $18,456. Crazy, almost $20,000 a game now. All right, most I've ever bet in my life, ever. So this broke all my records. Like all of what I was betting, what I made, all that stuff. Broke everything, okay? So again, I had to do the same thing as I'm doing here, okay? Because I got no other choice. So it's among 30 sports books now. Just to get one bet down. But the quest here was to get to that $1 million mark. And I wanted to see if I could get there without getting banned, without getting limited. Because it's always something that, the sportsbooks have no problem taking your money, but how can you get some of that back? Because that's the goal, right? We're trying to get it back. How do you get some of that back? So that's what the main goal was from this whole process. And like I said, month 14, I'm a little bit almost halfway there, but compound interest is really taking an effect here. I'm almost gaining $100,000 a month. All right, at this point, I'm gaining $100,000 a month just off of sports betting. So let's go ahead and accelerate this to the last month of how long this took. All right, we're gonna go to month 17. Month 17 was where the game was over. All right, so month 17, my bankroll was $935,658. Okay, my unit size now, crazy, 28,069. That's almost $30,000 you're betting on a game. $30,000. Okay, this had to be split up again, like I said, between 30 sports books. Now, even at 30 sports books, I was starting to get worried that I was going to get limited or get banned. Even at 30, okay, I was starting to get like this is probably going to get shut down. But this was the last month of me doing this. Okay, now if you've been kind of going along with what we're doing here, 5 units, you make 5 units in this month, so you would time that by 5. That brings you to the overall goal, which was through month 17. Goal was hit, and now what happened here? We got $1,076,038. Okay, took 17 months. Took over a year. Took a lot of work to be able to get to this point. A lot. Okay, because not only do I obviously have to drive to state line to do that stuff every single day, but not only that is I have to have my account and my wife's account, have everything together, and literally make sure I have the correct unit size down, because if I make one screw up, it could screw up the whole entire process. And it was time consuming. It was definitely time consuming, for sure. But in the end, it was worth it, because why? It took a year and 5 months, about a year and a half, almost a year and a half, to 10x the original bankroll. Take it from $100,000 to $1 million. Okay, now people are going to say, why don't you just keep going? Why don't you just keep going until you get banned or you get stopped? Because this was just to prove a point. I wanted to get to this point just to prove a point. Because I own a company, I own a business, and this took way more work than what I have to do in a business and make more money. So I'm not interested in trying to manipulate the sports book to having 70 different sports books and trying to make $2 million, $3 million. So it's possible, but your normal person is not going to go through this. They're not going to go through all of that. It's just not going to happen. Okay, that's why a lot of the times I say, for you to make millions of dollars in sports betting, it's not realistic because of what you have to go through. So now let's break down some of this. All right, I was able to make this amount right here. But now let's talk about taxes here, because taxes had to be taken out. Okay, so I had to pay because I had to do in-state for Nevada and for Arizona because I was splitting it between all these sports books. So in Arizona, I had to pay a 10% tax on the winnings, and then in Vegas, I had to pay it was like 6.75% tax on the winnings. Okay, so you add that to here, that takes me out of that $1 million range, obviously, but still was able to make a good amount of profit there. Now, again, this took a lot of work. Took a lot of work because you have to make sure that you have enough sports books to be able to split your unit size up if you're betting a crazy amount. So like I said, you can adapt this to any bankroll, okay? Because what I just showed you, for example, if you have a $1,000 bankroll, it's 10xing it. So in the same process with a $1,000 bankroll in 1 year, you'd have a $10,000 bankroll, okay? With a $10,000 bankroll, 1 year you'd have a $100,000 bankroll. So like I said, you could adapt what I just showed you and what I did. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anybody that was able to actually do this real without just going and putting a crazy bet down of $1 million to make $1 million. I don't know anybody that was even capable of putting something together like this and being able to do it. Because like I said, it was a grind. It was something that literally I had to implement into my schedule for a year and a half. Year and a half I had to implement that into my schedule. So it was rough. But again, when it comes down to it, always worth it when you're making money in the end. Now, let's go ahead and get to the key factors. The key factors of what I went through here and what I learned in this process. And like I said, if you guys want to know the strategy that I used for this, make sure you guys click the link in the description because you can work with me one-on-one and I can teach you exactly the strategy that I know. So that way you guys know how to adapt this and to be able to reach that same threshold, no matter really what your bankroll really is. All right, but got to have at least some type of money. Okay, can't come to me with $100 and want to make $1,000 in a year. We're not going to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the key points now that I learned across that whole entire year. All right, let's start with number 5. What I learned that was just so important. All right, it's the consistency. The consistency is very, very important because there's some days where, I had stuff going on where I still had to figure out how to implement this into my schedule. Okay, I still had to figure out, take time, because if I didn't, I would be way behind. I would have missed plays that won, and you just can't do it that way. You can't. You have to be consistent with it because what I see with a lot of people is they get on a win streak. They get on a win streak and they feel great, right? They got no problem. They stick to it. But then they hit a little bit of a losing streak. And what do? They want to take a break at this. They want to take a break. You can't. You have to just keep going. You got to stay consistent with it. Okay? Numbers are going to be numbers. Probabilities are going to be probabilities. And the numbers will even out to what they need to be in the end. So you have to understand that consistency is very, very important. If I didn't stay consistent, I wouldn't even have came close to any of this. Okay? I would have been way off, or it would have took me 2 years maybe to be able to do it. All right? Now, at number 4 was emotions. Emotions are huge, too. Because now think, you're betting $10,000 at a game. You're betting $10,000, $30,000 on a game. That's big, right? That's big. So that could trigger a lot of emotions for sure. You lose a game, that's a lot of money that you're out right there. Especially if in the first month, if I kind of started on a losing streak and with a $100,000 bankroll, all right, well, even with a $100,000 bankroll, I started losing, $3,000 a pop and lose 3 in a row. That's $10,000. Now my emotions can kick in there, and then I end up like, oh man, like should I just take 50 and put it on a game? That's what a lot of people do. Okay, a lot of people. This right here, the losing streak triggers the emotions. All right, it triggers the emotions, and what happens? You end up emptying out your account because you lose money. All right, because you're chasing. You start chasing. You start doing stupid stuff, so it starts emptying out the account. If I was super emotional through this whole process, I would never even have got through the process. Plain and simple, never would have gotten through it because emotions will literally grab and drain you, and you will not be able to sustain anything if you become super emotional. A lot of sports bettors are emotional on the daily. So you can't be emotional on the daily. You have to just ignore the emotions. No matter what happens is going to happen. It's out of your control. Remember that. It's 100% out of your control. What's in your control is what you could place, the bet that you could put down. But after that, it's out of your control. You watching the game is not going to make the outcome any different. Remember that. Now, number 3 was sticking to the unit size, focusing on my goal. All right, so focus on your goal, stick to the unit size. So every month, like I said, my goal is to get 5 units. If I eclipse that 5 units, then if it was early on in the month, I would just cut it off. I wouldn't keep going because I didn't want to really risk certain things. Okay, but if certain months, like, because there was a couple months where I made like 2 units, so I knew like I had to recoup 7 units or 8 units if I was going in that next month. That's when I would let it go a little bit. But if I was on my pace for 5 units per month and a month came across, and if I hit that 5 unit mark, I was on pace overall, I would just cut it. Okay, because that's what my goal was. I hit my goal. There's no reason to get greedy, because that's another thing, is when you get greedy because you think you're winning, it's going to even out, and then it starts taking back. So then you could be literally hit 5 units as your goal in the first 2 weeks and not cut it off, and the next thing you know, you've only made 2 units in the month because now you went on a losing streak to end the month. So understand, when you're focusing on your goal, got to stick to that and stick to your unit size. Okay? Because this was huge. This was one of the most important parts throughout the whole process. I had to split that unit size up between 30 sports books at one point. So I had to make sure I knew exactly what that number was that I was placing at every single sports book. I had to understand that. If I didn't know what I was doing, my numbers would be all over the place. I'd have a bigger bet here, smaller bet here, and guess what? Recipe for disaster. Okay? My numbers would be all over the place. So you have to stick to the unit size and understand how important that is, correlating it with your goal, because your unit size is what's going to dictate how you get to your goal. All right, now let's get to the 2 most important things that I learned throughout this whole process to making $1 million in sports betting. All right, let's get to number 2. Number 2 was how important compound interest is. Some people don't even know what that is, okay? Especially sports bettors. Sports bettors have no idea what this is. They don't even know what that means, okay? So compound interest is when you are pretty much rolling your profits into your bankroll and then reassessing your bankroll and then using that new bankroll. So I did this at the beginning of every single month, okay? No matter what the ending bankroll was, that's what I used as my new base for the unit size, okay? And this was huge because if I didn't do this, I would have been nowhere near that mark in the 17th month mark. I probably would have been around 400 grand, like 400 grand probably, okay? But compound interest, when that starts taking effect and you start compounding and rolling over your money, it starts getting really, really aggressive really fast. So at one point, like I was showing you guys there, at one point, I was gaining $100,000 in a month. Literally gaining $100,000 in a month just because of using compound interest. Like I said, if I didn't use compound interest, it would not accelerate that fast. So that's why I'm saying this works with any of your guys' bankrolls from 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. It works because you have to be able to understand what compound interest is and how that takes effect. A lot of people use this stuff in the stock market, compound interest, okay, where they put money into their stocks, and guess what? It just keeps compounding over time. Over time, it just keeps compounding. Yes, it takes forever in the stock market for sure, but obviously the more money you have, the more money you make, the quicker it gets. And I showed you that here. It's the same concept as well. So you have to understand that compound interest is very important. You have to implement this in any type of strategy and any type of goal that you have. Because if you're looking long-term game, you have to include compound interest in that long-term game. That's the only way to accelerate your bankroll and to make more money. It's the only way. There is no other way to do it. If you're going to not use compound interest, it's going to take you forever. You still could gain with your bankroll, but it will take a long time, very long time. Now let's get to number one. Number one is the strategy that I used for that. All right, so what was the strategy that I used to find the plays that were able to do that? So what I did, and if you guys watch a lot of my videos, you know how I roll, you know what I do, okay? So I looked for plays that had odds between minus 250, minus 220, some were minus 270. These were the odds that I looked for. But I looked for ones that had discrepancies. All right, discrepancies with an edge of at least plus 5%. Okay, so what does that mean? That means, like, for example, this play here, minus 250. Let's just say, for example, I found a play that was at a 77% probability. Okay, that gives me an edge over the odds. So what I would do is I would place these type of bets right here. These type of bets. Not these type of bets where it was minus 250, but the percentage was 68% that it was going to hit. If I did this, I would lose long term. Okay? So that is where you didn't want to go. Like I said, these were all player props, 100% player props. So I didn't want to go here. I wanted to stay on this mark to be able to find ones that gave me a true edge, that gave me a percentage of at least 5% or more. Now, limited plays, because there wasn't that many out there that were like that every single day. Okay? Some days there was none. So, like I said, I only got down about 20 to 30 bets on average throughout the whole entire month. So there wasn't a crazy amount of these. But when I did have one, that's where I would implement that. Okay? And it wasn't too crazy busy because I was only placing like maybe one, some days maybe two bets. So I had to split that, of course, across so many sports books and do all that work for that. But I wasn't putting in 6-7 bets a day across 30 sports books. Like, that's crazy. See, that right there is insane. That would be a lot, and there's a lot of room for mistakes in doing that. I was limiting it to like one or two, if that. Okay, some days it was just one. But it wasn't that crazy amount of work on that end. But that's what I'm saying. I looked for plays that had a plus 5% edge correlating with the higher odds in the higher odds bracket here. Okay, they gave me the highest probability, highest shot at winning. And what did I do? Like I said, I had to place those bets and I had to pretty much spread it across. At one point, like I said, 2 different accounts, 15 sports books apiece. I had to split them across and I had to focus on, what was it? Player props. For the over. Okay? For the over. Because the under is actually limited at certain sports books. You don't have 15, 20 sports books that offer the under on player props. So I had to focus on just the overs. And that was another thing that kind of took me back a little bit in finding the edge. Because some sports books don't offer unders, so you can't really split that up between 15 sports books when only 4 sports books. You can't do a bet like that at $30,000 a pop when there's only 4 sports books that have that stuff. Okay? But again, this was the strategy that I used throughout 17 months to take a $100,000 bankroll, bring it to $1 million. And like I said, I had to pay taxes on all that stuff and everything. But it is what it is in the end. It was a goal that I, wanted to reach, and I wanted to try it out. I knew it was going to take a long time. I knew it was going to take a lot of work, but it ended up panning out, and that's exactly how it was able to all come together. And like I said, you could do this as well with any type of bankroll that you have. If you guys want me to show you exactly the strategy that I used to do this, all you got to do is go down below, click the link in the description, and I can teach you one-on-one exactly how to maybe make $1 million if you have a $100,000 bankroll. Okay, but if you don't, I could still make you 10x of what it is your investment originally is. As always, guys, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.